kind of zoomed in day-to-day aspect of those societies is something I'm looking forward to exploring.
Mm-hmm. And I think the next book's going to give us a much better chance to do that.
Absolutely.
Because the next book is not going to be about blowing up universes. It's going to be more, in some ways, it's going to be more of almost a police procedural novel. When I first was contemplating these books, I was contemplating them more like police procedurals with an occasional military component. Mm-hmm. Okay? Well, not police procedural, but police force, policing responsibilities and problems, which occasionally grow into military conflicts. Okay?
Whoopsie!
Well, no, that's what happens with collaboration, you know. But we're
that
Jacob
gets pushed aside.
Well, Jacob and I are almost looking at there being two threads to this universe. One that would be more of the police aspects of the Gordian division, and one that would be more of the dealing with external threats or threats to the time stream per se. Mm-hmm. When you have time travel, all kinds of possibilities for criminal activity present themselves. Okay. Everywhere from I have the original title, you must have the forgery. Okay. How do you determine which is the real one? To murdering your doppelganger and taking his place in another universe that otherwise goes ahead exactly the same way that yours would have, or maybe it still is yours. So there's all kinds of small scale conflict that you can create in the society, and then you have more of the grand scale stuff. Mm-hmm. So what we're actually looking at is doing the smaller scale, more, for want of a better term, intimate, personal stories, with crossovers from characters in the more grand scale stories, and eventually with crossover from these are the smaller scale stories into the big scale stories with characters we've introduced over here turning up on this side of the ledger. And I think we can do that and make it work well. The stories will be joined at the hip because they're coming out of the same literary universe. They're dealing with the same text system, the same constraints, the same political environment, the same social environment. So they will definitely be Gordian, or whatever we wind up calling the universe. I don't think we have a character in the Gordian books who could carry the weight of being identified with the universe the way that Honor does with the Honorverse. Mm-hmm. Okay? Honor has a really big cast of characters from the very beginning. But she is kind of Klaus Wilhelm and Raybert combined in the Honorverse books.
It definitely feels more like an ensemble cast.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
very important that ensemble, whether some peel off, some get added, but it's still an ensemble cast going through these stories.
Well, and that's life. Okay. I mean, in the Honorverse, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on that Honor can't be present for because she can only be in one place at a time. All right. And so people have a tendency to not think of those as Honorverse books. They're not Honor Harrington novels. They're just in the Honorverse. I tend to think of all of them as being Honorverse novels because to me, they're all woven together into one whole, one tapestry. In the Gordian books, we're obviously at a much earlier stage, okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But there's also the way that the characters we've already presented are available. Until and unless we introduce a universe we don't blow up that has time travel, okay, we've pretty much got a pretty good handle.
Why are you looking at someone behind me?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the universe where we have the weaker grip on the major players is admin. In Siskov, we've seen all the division chiefs. Mm-hmm. We've seen the president. We've had people talking about how the senators and whatnot. We've been talking about the protesters who want to burn messages a kilometer deep on the face of the moon using nanotech. And on admin side, we've seen Shigeki, and we've seen his people in his command, and we've seen the head of state, and that's basically all that we've really seen from there. So I'm hoping that going forward, we're going to get more time in the admin universe.
I mean, one of the novels that I'm really interested in looking forward to tell, not immediately next, but down the road, is one where there's the officer exchange program. So the Syscov, Gordian Division, whatever officer is in the admin, and we have an adventure in the admin, and
I think that'll be
a lot of cool places that could go.
This one y'all did kind of that. Didn't some of the people from Syscov?
Oh, in the five, yeah. But well, actually, you had Raybert and Andover Chin, where like Andover Chin is like, these are actually pretty nice people. Like, I wouldn't say that Raybert is prejudiced or anything, but they're the admin.
Andover Chin's like, I kind of like these guys. They have a good attitude.
They haven't stripped you out of your body and shipped you off to prison yet either.
Haven't turned you into fertilizer. That's why you still like them.
Well, you realize actually these people haven't done that. It's like, never mind, they're still the admin.
Still counts.
Yeah. By cracking. It's kind of. You can understand where he's coming from, But I think that.
Steal my body once, shame on me.
Yeah. But I think that we're looking at a situation in which there's a lot of room for character growth on both sides of the line between the dimensions as they learn. We saw a right smart amount of that in this book. We saw it with Klaus Wilhelm and Shigeki, and I think we saw it with Raybert. We certainly saw it with a lot of the other Gordian Division guys down at after the battle. I mean, when you guys go into battle with like 90 plus ships and you come home with like 40, okay, and the losses were not that unevenly distributed. You kind of like, what, they're not too bad after all. I wouldn't trust their stinking AIs in the dark, but yeah, he's not too bad. And I think that the admin is already seeing in Syscov that some of their bias against AIs is unmerited. Now, of course, what we have to bear in mind is that only a very small number of admin people and only a very small number of Syscov people are actually interfacing right now. Okay? I'm trying to figure out what kind of trade could be organized between these two. Syscov's general tech is better than the admins, but admins isn't very far behind, and they've taken some roads not taken that mean that they come at things differently. I'm thinking probably the biggest exchange is going to be entertainment and education and computer games.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've already planted that seed, David.
I saw that. Solar descent.
It's going to grow.
Yeah, if I were Philo, I would not have paused the game for Raybert if he was sticking those grenades into those things while he was talking. I'm just saying.
Philo's a nice guy.
Yeah, Philo. Figure out how I'm going to kill all of you.
He puts on a show.
Oh, yeah, well, Benjamin, it's like the fourth,
That's just because he built his character wrong.
I see. But that's one of the things that we need to be looking at moving forward, because that's one of the things that's going to have to happen. And I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of like qualifications on the technology you can ship back and forth. I'm thinking cuisine going back and forth. more
We
of
planted that seed too.
more. What I'm saying is that it'll be a lot more of a cultural exchange than a cargo exchange, and that's going to be that's going to be a new place for me to go in some ways. Right? I mean, in the Honorverse, when you look at the fact that literally it doesn't cost anything to get a cargo up into orbit, and that once you get your ship, if you're using the grav wave, once you get your ship, you don't even have energy costs to it. I mean, it makes sense. We're going to build a 10 million ton freighter, and we're going to send 8 million tons of grain from this planet where we can grow a whole bunch of grain to that planet where it rains all the time. I mean, it actually makes sense. It's cheaper and more efficient to import the grain than it is to build the greenhouses to grow it in locally. Okay, but that's not going to be the case here. I mean, probably it might be for foodstuffs, but I imagine, it's like if they had the right stuff in their printer banks, they could print up a bologna sandwich with cheese,
Would you mind pausing it? I need to write this down.